We just saw how we can use three commands, excuse me, ls, cd, and pwd to navigate or go around in the file system. So remember, you can say cd and just one command by itself, no options, just say cd and return. It doesn't look like things changed, but notice that we were in the root directory, that is the top level directory of the file system, and it changed to tilde, that is our home directory. So you can check that by saying pwd, print working directory, tells us we are in our home directory, which is /home/uwrf. Not home is not /home, it's /home, and in this case /uwrf. So on different machines, chances are you'll have a different home directory. For example, the server that we will be using, chances are you will be in /home/ and then your username. Okay, so let's go back to the notes. So the home directory is something that the system administrator created when they set up your account. So the system administrator creates all user accounts on the system and associates each user account with a particular directory that's your home directory. And typically that's always different. Each user account will have a different directory. It doesn't have to be, but that's usually how things are set up. So the logon process, that is when you log in, if you're using a terminal to log into a server, that logon process will place you in your home directory on the server. So when you log into a server, you're not using files on the machine that you logged in from. Instead, you're now placed in the file system of that remote machine, that server that is somewhere else. It's not the one that you're currently using. Typically, that's the case. Okay, so from your home directory, wherever you are on the live CD or in a remote system, on a server somewhere else, you can expand your directory structure according to your needs. You can add as many directories as you want, or put files into directories, or put subdirectories, divide them up into additional subdirectories. It's up to you. You have permissions to do that. Wherever you are in the file system, there is this concept of the working directory or your current working directory, and that's what PW shows you. While you're working on the Unix system, you're always associated with a directory at any moment in time. So, and that can change. CD changes that. The directory you are associated with or working with currently is called a working directory. So for example, let's say you have a /user directory, and we know that this is not how the live CD is set up, but let's just pretend that the book is let's just pretend we have this artificial file system where you have /user, and that's where home directories are. For example, the user David has /user/David. The user Daniel is in /user/Daniel, and so on. Gabriel is in /user/Gabriel. This file, my first file, is in /user/David/myFirst, and so on. So is report. Report is in /user/David/report. Okay. So your login name and your home directory name are usually the same. Almost always this is the case. Whenever you add a new user, automatically you get a directory with the same name as your username. The root directory is present in all Unix file systems, and remember, the root directory refers to this, not /root. The / directory is called the root directory. Okay, it's a little confusing. Okay, so the name of the root directory is always the /. So on this Unix, on most Unix system, you don't see this. You don't see a /root. On Linux, you will. That's just the way Linux is set up. Okay, so here is now you have another really major, very important concept, that is understanding paths and path names. Every file has a path name. Path name locates the file in the file system uniquely. There's only going to be one file. Even if there's two files with the same name, they have to be in different locations. You cannot have two files with the same name in the same directory. Okay, that's just not going to work. You determine a file's path name by tracing a path from the root directory to the file, going through all the intermediate directories. What does that mean? That just means that if you want to trace the path, where exactly is this, or how does the system refer to this report file? It's referred to as /user/David/report. That's a path from the root all the way down to where the file is. And this can have hundreds of different levels if you want to. There are files like that. So the number of levels is not important. Well, it is important. I mean, you can have any number of levels. But there's no limit to the number of levels. And you can have a unique path name. So for example, what does that mean? That means, for example, you can have a file called report in the Daniel directory, or the Gabriel directory, and you can have one, and we do have a file called report in David. You cannot have two files called the same thing in David. There's just no way that you can have two unique things that are called the same. Okay, so if you have a report directory in Daniel, it will be /user/Daniel/report. Okay, so the first / at the very beginning of a path name stands for the root directory. Everything else, all the other slashes, serve to separate the names of other directories and files. On Windows, you pretty much have the same, except the / goes in the other direction. Okay, probably seen that. The files in your working directory, wherever you are, the files in your current working directory are immediately accessible. All you need to do is specify the particular file by its path name if you want to refer to a file in another directory. So let's take a quick look at this. So right now I'm in my home directory. Let's do an ls, and I see all these things. Now I know that the root directory has a bin directory. How do I refer to this bin directory? Well, the way to do that is to say ls. Can you do bin right here? No. This will not work. This is saying that look in the bin directory in the current directory and then list all the files there. If you do this, you'll get this message. So if you wanted to access the bin directory that's in root, in the root directory you say ls/bin. So that is a unique path from the root. Now you get all these things that are in the /bin directory. Okay. So we also know that there is a /user/bin. We saw that in the last video. So here, you can do /user. USR is usually pronounced user /bin. Oops, I don't want a CD there. I just want an ls. And I use the arrow keys to do that. Arrow and backspace or delete. Okay, so I can do ls/bin. I can do ls/user/bin. Those are two different things, as you see. You can tell from the output. Okay. I can also look at the root directory by saying ls/root. So I can do ls /lib. See what's in the library directory. There's a bunch of files in there. Great. Okay, so the files in your working directory are immediately accessible. To if you want to access, for example, files in another directory, you have to specify that particular file by its path name. So for example, and we just sort of did that. So if you want to see where VI is, you can say ls/user/bin/vi. There it is. You can get more details. It turns out this is not a regular file. It sort of is, but it's not. Okay. So I did here. What I'm doing is I'm trying to get a long listing. That's the -l of this particular file /user/bin/vi. Turns out, I can tell from here, that it is a link, that is a shortcut. So /user/bin/vi turns out is a shortcut to this file, which is in /etc/alternative/vi. And something very interesting. Let's see the details of that, because that turns out to be a link too. Okay, so there. It can be confusing, but don't let that throw you off. It just so turns out vi is a link to this, which is itself a link to /user/bin/vim.basic. Okay, so let's try that. -l/user/bin/vim.basic. So vim just means vi improved. And it turns out there are a list of our trail of pointers or trail of links ends. So vi is a link to this, is a shortcut to this file, which is itself a shortcut to this file. So when you say vi, you're actually executing vim.basic. You can try that out. Let's just say vim.basic, and it looks just like you executed vi. And go to :q to quit. Okay, so we're still just using a handful of handful of commands, and we'll see more and more of these commands. Okay, so take a look at this structure in this fictitious file system. Once again, you will probably see questions about file systems on quizzes. You have to be able to answer it, even if you don't really have access to a file system like this. Okay, so I might, for example, ask you, how do you, let's say you are over here, this is your current working directory. How would you access this my first file? And then the answer would be, you have to say vi/user/david/myfirst. There it is, /user/david/myfirst. That's the path name for myfirst. And so if you say vi/user/david/myfirst, you can edit that file even if you are here. That will work even if you are over here too. Okay, so make sure these ideas make sense. Try this out. Look at various files in the live DVD.